Okay guys, this is my 2021 Toyota Tacoma. It's a TRD off-road, and this will be maintaining the rear brakes, and as you can see, they are drum brakes, my favorite, so this should be fun. The front we did yesterday and they're working beautifully, so I'm happy to get in here and get these lubed up and get them working a little better too. So see you in a minute. Okay, so we're going to start off with this part here. Getting the drums off is a little bit difficult. There's a few ways you can do it. One is this way here, which is you get two M8 by 1.25 bolts. Obviously they don't have to be the same length, but that same size and thread pitch. And those you're just going to slowly tighten in equally, one side and then the other. Maybe like 3 turns on the ratchet and then 3 on the other, and then 3 on the first, 3 on the second. Just keep going back and forth. Once you get it broken loose, it's pretty simple. You can pretty much pull it off. You might have to rotate the drum a little bit if it's catching up, but it should come off fairly easy. You can see it's pretty dirty in there, and over here I would show you the spots that I'm going to lube up, but it is too dirty to even see. So I'm going to spray this with about a half a can of brake parts cleaner, and then I'll come back and show you what we're going to grease up. Okay, so I got it cleaned up pretty well. I didn't have enough brake parts cleaner to get it fully clean, but I just used what I had left, and I'll have to go get another can to do the other side. But basically where we're going to lube up is going to be all of these places. You can see here where there are these flat spots on here, right here, right there. So those guys on the back side, there's going to be a spot where they're mating with the brake backing plate, and so you want to grease up those spots where they rest there, because they are going to actually be sliding on them slightly. Also where the pad meets the the piston here, basically you're gonna lube up the end of the pad there, because those are going to be sliding against each other. And down here, your parking brake right there where that pivot is, and you could even do the ends of the springs if you want, but anything like this where it's metal to metal, you're going to want to grease that up. Be sparing, of course, because you don't want to get it onto the pads, but make sure you get some on there, because you don't want it not sliding easily. You don't want it binding up, because that's a decrease in braking power. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart, and I'll be back. Okay, so my favorite thing, drum brakes. Already starting off, it's a little bit of a difficult process. The first thing I took off was this spring here, which is the long one on the bottom, and it hooks from this notch in the parking brake lever there, and it hooks around that peg right there. There's kind of a groove that it fits into, and then this one here, this lever, that hole there actually goes right over this peg, and then the spring goes down into this hole right here. Okay, now the next thing to do is to pull this big spring out of that hole right there. This spring is tough. You might be able to fight it against the spring pressure, but that was a lot. So I went ahead and came back in here to the adjuster that down inside there. You just use a screwdriver, and you can rotate that all the way down to the loosest setting, so that you're not fighting the spring so much, because that pushing apart is tensing that spring. Now when you put it back in, you're going to need to adjust it back out, which honestly is kind of a pain from the back, because the spring gets in the way. So adjusting it out is a bit difficult. Adjusting it in is the easier way. So to get it to go in, you want it this right side. If you imagine that it's a bolt going into the left, you want it to go clockwise to loosen the strut or to compress it, and you want it to go counterclockwise or the top towards us to extend it or to tighten the brakes, basically, once the drum is on. So I hope that explained that fairly well. But I did get that spring off. Once it was all the way down, then it was a whole lot more manageable to get that spring out of that hole there. And I didn't have to fight with it nearly as much. So the next thing is I'm going to pull that strut out of there, and then I'm going to pull off this hole down here. I think I'll probably end up pulling them both off, and then pulling out the parking brake. This part doesn't look like it should be too difficult. Just the hold downs, you know, if you haven't done those before, there's a pretty cool tool, but I just do it with a needle nose. You just keep the needle nose open and push down on the plate, I guess, if you will, the washer, and then keep the pin pressed towards you from the back, and then you just rotate it 90 degrees. Just rotate it 90 degrees, and then it'll slide right back through. So it's not too difficult, but if you have a hard time with it, there is a tool. Almost missed one. There is this one down here that's pretty important. That's the one that holds the bottom of the shoes together. And remember this when we're putting it back, that spring goes behind the tab, not in front of it. Okay, so we're almost there. I got the first pad off and the arm there. The arm, you have to kind of maneuver around there so that you can get that pad out. After, of course, you get the hold down springs. Those, to be honest, I almost went and got the tool because those springs have a lot of tension on them, and it really didn't want to press down and turn. So part of that problem was I'm using these needle nose vice grips because I somehow lost my needle nose, so that didn't help. But I was using the pliers, and what I ended up finding worked fairly well was just a flathead screwdriver, just to press in on it and turn it. And it wasn't a great tool, but it did work. So if you don't want to go get the tool, that should work. But just so you know, these springs are not your friends, so you will be fighting with them. When I take this off here, the strut isn't coming out yet because it's going behind here. I could pull the strut out through the spring, but the spring is hooked back behind there, so we'll have to pull these clips off of the parking brake arm, or I forget exactly what that arm's called, but I guess maybe it is a parking brake arm because we have to disconnect it back in there. So once we pull that out, then we have to disconnect the arm from the parking brake cable. And these two pieces, there's actually one on the front and I don't know if you see it, but there's one on the back too that kind of clamp onto the brake pad there. So we're going to take those off, and that will allow us to pull that spring out, and that way we can lubricate up all the points on there. And we might not need to be honest, but I'm going to pull it apart anyways, just to at least check it out and make sure it's lubed up. And yeah, we'll definitely need to get it out of the way, and having it hanging there is kind of not out of the way, not much. Okay, so the shoe is out of there, and it's just hanging by the parking brake cable there. But you do want to probably come in with your brake parts cleaner. Sorry, flies bugging me. With your brake parts cleaner and spray it down, because there's a lot of brake dust in here that you wouldn't have gotten to when you had it all together, probably. So the parking brake cable, when you get that off, you basically just grab the spring itself, pull the spring up, and then the cable will wrap around through the side there and pull off. And then when you put it back on, you're going to do just the opposite. Pull the spring back, tuck the tip in there, and then pull it up around again till it pops in. Okay, so I got this here. I'm going to pop these clips out of the top here. The strut here does actually come apart, and you can see inside here there's grease. It looks to me like it's probably silicone grease with a bunch of dirt in it, but yeah, I'm going to pop those off and I'll be right back. Okay, so you can get a hardware kit and replace all these springs and clips and everything, and some people would probably say that you should, but these clips here you can reuse. The way that I found that works the best to get them out is to take a flathead screwdriver, put a flathead screwdriver up against the end there, obviously brace the other side with something, probably your leg, you want something soft so you don't damage the pad, but hammer that till it pops the clip apart to where there's a little space in it, and then once it's separated a little bit, you can put the screwdriver flat against both of the ends and hammer the end, and it will push it apart and slide it back. Now once you get up to the stud, obviously you want to stop there, and then you can stick the screwdriver into this part here and pry back against the stud, and it will pop the clip out for you. And then when you want to put it back in, you're just going to have to drive it back in with a screwdriver. This got a little mangled, so I'm going to have to straighten that back out and then get it underneath the end and then tap it back in. So if it gets too mangled, you're going to need to get something else. Maybe go ahead and get the hardware kit if it does. But yeah, that's pretty much the easiest way that I can find to get them off. Okay guys, so this is it all apart, and this is pretty much the way that it was in there. As best I could lay it out. You know, it's kind of layered, so that was the best I could do to make it visible for you to see everything laid out. Of course, we're going to go back through how to put everything back together, but now we can see in here where we're going to lubricate all of these points here. We're going to lubricate, there's I think 6 of them, yeah, all these points where you can see it's been sliding up against. We're going to lubricate the inside, the piston there and the wheel cylinder, and then we're going to lubricate all of these pegs where the arms attach, where they rotate on. We're going to lubricate those, and we're going to lubricate where the strut rides in the pad, and we're going to lubricate inside the strut there. We're going to take that out apart and then lubricate inside there. If you want to go really extreme, you could even lubricate the inside of the hooks of the springs, but I've never heard of anybody having problems not doing that. So let's see, I'm not sure on this one. I'll have to kind of take a look, but I would say anywhere, you can see there are a couple spots where it looks like the metal's been rubbing, so any spots where you can see where the metal's been rubbing, you're going to want to grease those. And then over here, yeah, really mostly just those pegs and where the strut's going to ride, the strut itself, and the back of the backing plate and the pistons and the wheel cylinder there. And some people use anti-seize on this, but others say not to. So I'm going to use silicone grease. I know silicone grease works well, and the Rapasto stuff that I have is amazing stuff. So that's what I'm going to use here, and you can decide for yourself, I guess, you know. Just watch the videos that are out there and see what you think if you do want to use anti-seize. The only reason I could see that would be if you're having a lot of issues with rust. But the anti-seize you definitely don't want to use on, say, where the brake pads meet the pistons inside the cylinder there, because the rubber there can be damaged by the anti-seize. So I think pretty much the rest of it wouldn't be a big deal, but I think silicone grease is probably better for it. It is designed for it. And then, you know, I'm not going to do it, but if you wanted, well, I might do it here for on where the rotor sits, between the hub and the rotor, just to make sure maybe it's a little easier the next time, especially this lip here going all the way around. And then, you know, it's up to you, but maybe around the studs there where the rotor's going to sit. It looks like actually this rotor, the whole ring, so you would want to paint the entire ring behind the studs there, and then also the inside edge all the way around here. That particularly is the most important, because that's where it's going to really want to seize up. But yeah, I'll put anti-seize on there, and I think I'm looking at that, I probably think regular anti-seize. Yeah, I don't know. I'll look it up and see, but I will put anti-seize on the face there, and particularly around the center, because that drum was a bit difficult to get out. So these should be a lot simpler on the other side once we get it figured out in both directions. But taking it apart, looking back, it's not too hard. It was just learning how it goes. So I think the other side we should fly through, but it's going to take a bit figuring out how to put this all back together. So fun ahead. Okay, I don't know if you saw in the other videos how these looked, where the pads or the shoes ride, but they were pretty gunky. Like you can see this grime that's on everything. You want to get all of that off of there. Use a wire brush, like a brass wire brush works good, so you don't scratch it up too much. But you want to get all of that grime off of there, so that you got a nice good surface for your grease to stick to. And there's like 6 spots around that you want to grease up, and then there is this spot back in here that you want to grease up on the side there, and probably up on top, maybe even around the bottom. I actually probably not the bottom, but at least definitely on the side there. You can see where it's been scraping, and possibly on top. I just kind of go on the side, and then around the top and the bottom a little bit, just kind of around those corners. And then the other thing would be the cylinder and the ends there. Just slop some silicone grease in there. That's not going to be too big of a deal as far as how messy you get, because the pad's pretty far away from there, and the silicone grease isn't going to hurt that rubber. It's actually good for it, so protect it from the weather. Yeah, but those points there, and then of course the points on the pads themselves. And I'll show you what the grime looked like when I do the other side here in a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna lube up all those places, and I'll be back. Okay, so I had to do a little bit of research just to make sure, because I didn't want to tell you anything wrong. But on this here, where those brake pads meet the cylinder on the sides there, you're definitely going to want to use silicone grease there to protect the rubber. But for all of the other points, the metal on metal contact points, which is basically everything else, a better choice is moly grease, because it's higher. I believe it's higher temperature, and also it's got the molybdenum disulfide or something like that. It leaves a coating on the metal that'll protect it. And moly grease is really good for metal on metal contact where it's sliding. A lot of videos I saw, they were using anti-seize on the contact points, and anti-seize is good for fasteners but not so much for sliding contact, which in sliding contact points you're going to want to use moly grease. So I'm going to use this on everything except for the where the shoes go into the end of the cylinder there. So I would recommend you do too, but it should stand up better than the silicone grease would, and apparently they say that silicone grease is not good for the drum brakes.